Hi, everyone. So we're gonna call this June 10th, 2025 school board business meeting to order. Darcy wants to lead the pledge. I mean, it's just. She recorded it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job. And then Jerry, would you like to read the district commitments?
Yes, I would. In school district 44, we have 4 main goals. Number 1 is each student will improve academically each year. Number 2, our schools will be safe, inclusive and welcoming. And number 3 is we will welcome family and community engagement and support partnerships for student learning. And number 4, we will maintain and improve our facilities to meet the current and future needs of the students, staff, and community.
Are there any revisions to the agenda tonight? Now, D is public comment. This item is the appropriate place to make comments about an item not on the agenda, but within the board's jurisdiction. Each action item on the agenda has its own public comment period. In order to protect individual rights of privacy, avoid comments that identify students or staff members. Additionally, public comment cannot be used to make comments regarding contested cases, grievances, or legal proceedings. The opportunity for public comment and participation during a school board meeting is provided by attending the school board meeting in person. Is there any public comment? Yes, there is.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to see everybody. Happy Pride Month. Hello. Yes, it's a good month. So I am so happy to be here, and I'm going to tell you why. So last week, a neighbor texted me and she's like, I know you're still in school. She keeps track of my schedule. You're still in school. It finishes this last week. It finishes last week, finishes like this week, but you're not doing anything so important. You come. So I was like, yeah, okay, easy for you to say. Well, I want to say kudos to the music people in this district. My gosh, I had a very tiring day, but I had promised her that I was going to come and hear her daughter play. But full disclosure, I couldn't hang for her daughter because the way they scheduled it was orchestra first. Bless their stringed hearts, and then band, and she's a saxophonist, my favorite instrument. So I did stay, but I kept like, when is this group gonna end? I couldn't, because I knew I had to be up early the next morning. So I don't know, I'm sure it was awesome. But I do wanna say for sure that freshman, those 9th graders, unbelievable, superior rating. That's unheard of. So kudos. I know I'm not allowed to name faculty, but you know who they are. I mean, okay, please just let them know. Awesome. Then, because I needed to make amends, she said, you know, my son is playing tomorrow morning on the lawn outside the middle school, the 7th grade jazz something or other. So I show up and I'm like, okay, I'll be tardy, but that's a good excuse for, school. It was my last day. And I said, I'm going to do this. And there's nobody there. And I'm like, I got it wrong. I know I got it wrong. Anyway, I called the office and she's like, oh yeah, bad weather, it's going to be inside. And I saw you, we crossed paths. Oh my gosh, 7th grade. Incredible. They are amazing. He's also a saxophonist, her brother, but so just kudos. I said, I can come to this meeting and just have it be love and positivity and spread the word. Awesome, awesome, strong music. I mean, it's no surprise. Everybody who knows, they know it's great, but just from me, okay, just to know, because, I'm spoiled when you're in a larger district and you have more students and more participants in these activities, then of course you're kind of used to a different level, shall we say. But no, there's no extra A or one less A when it comes to, amazing. So thanks for listening, and good to see all of you people. And yes, nice to see everybody. I think that's it. No, where's the public? There's so many good things to share. So many good things happening in this district. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Bob. So public correspondence, I don't believe we have T this week. And then we'll move into approval of minutes for May 2025.
I move we approve the minutes as written.
Seconded.
Moved by Jerry, seconded by Katie, all in favor?
Oh, I'm abstaining, I'm not, because I was not here.
You were not there.
Right.
Got it. Okay, sorry, please abstain. Okay. Right, I guess we will move to the student trustee report, or maybe an introduction.
If I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to segue through this piece, number one, thank you for joining us during graduation on Saturday. Outstanding representation of our students, and the speeches that they performed were top notch. And think about Jake Dunker being our student representative, moving from this role into opening a ceremony like that was just icing on the cake for that young man and for our community. So really special. And as we know, Jake's last meeting was last month. And so we've been through the process at the high school. We have had several students that applied for this position. They have to get signatures, basically a petition of support from students and staff alike. And we went through interviews, and we had an interview team that's comprised of myself and an advisor from the student council, as well as the student body president, current student body elect, and was there maybe one other in the room? I can't remember, but it was a nice diverse group of folks went through these interviews, and we have selected a new student representative for you. And as your process of elimination of people in the room tonight, probably figured out Carmela Forcone. And Carmela is just wrapping up her sophomore year at the high school. So this is a 1 to 2 year position, depending on, Jake probably could have put in a second year, but he had to give up his year at Columbia next year. But yeah, so that's the position that we will start next fall with Carmela. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Did you prepare that speech? Didn't we talk about it? Kind of like the look on David's face when Whitman said that in graduation. But anyway, so we'll have a new seat right over here for you, and you and I, and we'll talk about that ahead of time, and Miss Odell and the student council will help navigate it from that end back to our student body. So Carmela Forcone, board, Carmela. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll keep moving through. Is there a WEA or WCEA update?
I really appreciate that this is one of the coolest rooms in the district right now. Mr. Coyne said Muldown has air conditioning, but I'm not gonna talk to him again. I'm a little bit jealous. Wow, what a year. I can't believe it's June. Just came from our high school retirement party, probably one of our retirement parties. We've had many. This was a super fun one. And it was a little bit hard for it to be scheduled at board meeting time, but I made it back. So, but that was really fun because most of our retirees are coming from the high school. So that was fantastic. And then we have one more from the middle school. And a couple people moving on to new adventures. So we're just so excited. And huge gratitude for those of you that were either participating in graduation ceremonies or attended the independent school graduation. It's always so great to see everybody, especially in a sweltering June, like no other. So speaking of that, everybody's super busy right now, just right up to the last minute, getting everything done and everything in place. And really excited because there are some fun end of the year traditions. So some of our schools have different traditions, and one of those that a lot of people are looking forward to is a North Fork float. So school's out, you check out and you meet at Super One at 12:30 on Thursday, and who's ever there, everybody fits in a boat or brings a paddleboard and floats down the river. And it's a great goodbye. So nice to be on the water. Mr. Means and I've had really good conversations over the last couple of weeks and talking about some of the report we received from Darlene and what that looks like, some of the feedback from you guys for human resources opportunities, and how WEA leadership can help assist in all of those process and how we can communicate better. So one of those pieces that we can look at is how do we communicate digitally or in bulletin boards or just out to staff, and how can we be more supportive in all of those pieces, and really looking at what is being done, who's doing them, and where we can alleviate some burden. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear them, and love to be an active part of supporting teachers. So, and just looking at like, what are our avenues to solutions at the lowest level so that each thing can just move on to the next best thing. So, yeah, so if you have any thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, it's been a good year. Well, thank you.
Happy summer.
Yeah.
I can think about it now. I couldn't think about it before Saturday. Don't talk to me about that. I even said that to my mother.
So we will move into our discussion and action items, and A is a math curriculum update.
Thank you. Good evening from the curriculum department. So the first thing I want to talk about is a brief update on the math committee. I had hoped I have some news to share with you about a curriculum, but we are just not there yet. We're going to need to take a little bit more time. The committee hasn't reached really a majority decision on the direction that they want to go. So we're going to regroup this summer, going to take a look at where we are, and then we'll move forward. I'll give you a brief synopsis of kind of where we've been. We met a number of times this year at the K-12 level. So we were looking at all math programs K-12. The 9th through 12th grade team really met, and a number of their programs are very specific, and they've already started making some adjustments to what they currently do, so they're on the right track. Our K-8 program, we brought together, and we looked at edreports.org, which is an independent nonprofit free program that gives comprehensive reviews of instructional materials. And based on those reviews, we chose 5 different programs to look at. So I sent out for those materials. We received those materials, and we had rubrics that we scored those 5 programs on. Based on those rubrics, we eliminated 3 of them. And then we were down to 2, and the committee just couldn't reach consensus. So we decided that we would come back together. We'd learn more about those programs, look at piloting those programs, and see if we could get some clarity. So that's where we are right now. We'll continue to meet over the summer, and hopefully we'll have something to share with you next year. Questions about that at all?
Is there any way that they might throw in a different, I mean, so they couldn't have the consensus on the 2 that they're in it, but is it like, do we need to find a better one?
Great question, Darcy. I think the first thing that we'll do, we want to proceed with what the committee's decision was, which was eliminate 3. We're going to look at these 2 deeper. We're going to take a look at piloting them. If we don't like either one, if they aren't going to meet our needs, then we'll go back and we'll look at another one. They did talk about looking at one other one, and we'll do that next week, actually. And then we'll see where we go from there. I have confidence we're going to find the program that's going to work for us.
By next fall?
No, by
By the next one.
by the next
So
next round.
Are there certain shortcomings that the current program has? Are we able to supplement them over the upcoming?
Good question, Katie. Yes, so right now I should tell you, we have 3 different programs at the K-8 level.
Okay,
and that has proved to be challenging. We have one program at kindergarten. We have another program at grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have another program at 6, 7. So we really teased out through our iReady diagnostic. We looked at the domains that kids are performing well in and kids are not performing well in. So we looked at that to help us figure out what is it in the programs we need to find. We've also had to do some teacher education because we have a number of teachers that say, I don't understand why we need a new math program. My students are growing from fall to spring. I see it on my iReady scores. You show it to me. You tell me I'm doing great things. And they are doing great things. They're taking kids from where they are in the fall. And they're showing immense growth, a year or more of growth by the spring. What we aren't seeing is an increase in proficiency rates from a particular group of students going through the grades progressively. Does that make sense? So we want more kids. If there were, I don't know, 70% of the students in second grade proficient, when they go to third grade, we want to see that proficiency rate increase, and that's what we're not seeing. So that's what we're working through, try to increase those proficiency rates. Other questions?
They all kind of tend to stay around the same cost.
Yes. Expensive.
I'm surprised.
They do, they do, yeah, textbooks are expensive.
Can I ask just not specific math question, but
Yes.
I'm just trying to remember, will you remind me,
Mhm.
I feel like it's at a work session in the summer that we go over the IRA schools.
Yes, and we will.
Yeah.
I think that happens, they visit, matter of fact, I'm working on a report this month. I think it's in, because we just finished all that testing, so the data is just coming back.
Sure, yeah.
I think it's either August or September, we have that planned. Mhm. I hope to have something for you next year.
Thanks for your work on
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. It is an investment, Rainey, and we really want to make sure that it is something that we believe is better than what we currently have and will really make the needs of our students. And I just can't rush the process if I don't really have teachers that are committed to it.
Thank you.
You bet.
I think you get to stay.
I know, I get to stay.
Have you present the AP physics curriculum.
Yeah, so next year we are excited that Whitefish High School will offer AP Physics. Tate Roxon is going to teach it. Tate was actually trained last year in AP Physics. And because we have the numbers of students to actually make this program a go this year, Tate needs some instructional materials in order to teach it. AP is a very structured program. He needs very specific materials. AP requires that. And so I asked Tate to reach out and find what he specifically needs for the course. And he has recommended what you see before you. So I'm just asking for approval of those materials.
I actually have one, because I always need to ask this when we're looking at AP.
Yeah.
I just, ask someone, I just can't remember. So, because like you said, it's a college class, basically, so in this special book, do students, if they sign into an AP class, do they buy the book like you do with college? Or is this like something that it goes, like it stays with the school?
It stays with the school.
Gotcha. So the students don't have outside expense to buy
No.
that
No,
college textbook?
No.
It is an actual textbook or is it online?
this is an actual textbook. Yeah.
Sorry, those are.
No,
questions.
that's okay,
That's
yeah.
a fun one.
He,
Well, it's
I
like
think,
1,800 pages, I was like, dude.
yeah, well, I think we have a set of them in class because he asked for a set in class.
No one wants that in their back.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Do you know?
Right.
I was just gonna ask, so it's a lecture slash lab course?
I believe so. Is it, Carrie? I think it is.
Lecture / slab, is that what?
Lab,
Yeah.
lab, yeah.
Pyramids and.
I mean, you know what the cost is, I mean,
Of the textbook. Tate found that the one that he's recommended, unbelievably at $60 a textbook. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then we have to buy the teacher's guide for.
thank you.
Yeah,
Is there any public comment? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
Move your bring the AP business curriculum as we. I'll second it.
Moved by Quincy, seconded by Rainey. All those in favor? Everybody. You're gonna say,
I know.
wait, it's not psychology curriculum.
All right, so we also are offering psychology next year at the high school. It has been offered off and on throughout the years. They have a current textbook, but it is outdated. And so we are looking to update what they currently have at the high school. In order to do that, I did some research. I looked across Montana at what other high schools were using for textbooks. This particular one, Bozeman is using. Carrie and I took a look at it, and with the teacher, it's something that it has the textbook, it has instructional materials with it, it has slides, so that depending on who teaches the program from year to year, it will be readily available for them. One of the issues we've had with psychology in the past is, depending on teachers' schedules, it is passed between different teachers and they've had to make up the curriculum for it. And so hopefully with this new textbook and these new instructional materials, we'll have a consistent program. And this one is more than 6 years.
Any clarifying questions?
What does psychology, is it a science credit, is it still elective, like what is this covering for the students in their graduation of their
I'm gonna have to refer to Carrie.
It is an elective.
elective?
Any public comment?
I will agree that this is a tricky one because it really depends on registration numbers, whether it's offered each semester. And having chatted with different teachers who have taught psychology over the years, it would be really helpful to have something that could be handed off from person to person. It tends to be sort of in the social studies realm, much like psychology or sociology would be as well, but having something that somebody could just pick it up, learn it, teach it, if they have the endorsement would be really helpful. So appreciate you guys considering this one.
Any other public comment? Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I just think the cover of the book is really
As
funny.
It's all I can say.
I know, it's like,
It is interesting.
it's really funny. So.
This is the high school. I made sure, because there's a lot of introduction to psychology, but we don't want college. We want for high school kids.
Yeah, we're guys. I move we accept the psychology curriculum.
Moved by Darcy, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kate, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey, now Luke Hammond is going to share information regarding the latest developments with the WHS expansion project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Luke Hammond, Tel Construction Advisors. This is the June update to the expansion projects at the high school. And following the format that we've followed previously, not a lot has changed again on the numbers or the dates. But I can guarantee you that a lot has happened in the background and a lot of progress has been made. And so the numbers that you're seeing on the budget haven't changed this month. Those are still reflecting the overall project budget and bond numbers. From a date perspective on the milestones, also nothing has changed there this month. We are currently working through phasing and logistics with Martell on how construction will flow. And as that develops, this will evolve a bit more on the milestone dates. But that's where that currently stands. The primary thing that's happened over the past month has been the development of the design, and Annie has done a really great job of completing the schematic design for the academic portion of the projects. And I think Shane will talk on that here shortly in more detail. But they've completed their schematic design books, and Martell is in the process of pricing that schematic design from an estimate standpoint. And as a team, we're meeting this coming Monday to go over some of those estimate numbers, which will be really great progress to help develop the design and from a budgetary standpoint where things stand. So that's a really good milestone to be at, and progress is really great at this point. I think the only other main thing that's happened since the last update was we were getting ready to have a community update, and that occurred a few weeks ago. Really positive meeting. Didn't have a ton of people at that update, but it was a really good design update from A&E and the team. And so jumping into some of the progress photos, I promise these will get more exciting when construction starts, but right now you're looking at some of the renderings that Shane will do a better job of diving into the details on here shortly. But the first one is the same overall site plan of the athletic portion. That remains the same at this point. And then diving into some renderings, which are a nice update this month to see a visual of where the design is at. The first one you're looking at there is of the main entrance, kind of from the northwest angle there, where the schematic design currently sits. And the next one is also from the northwest angle, just kind of zoomed out there a bit, of the north addition to the building. And then this is an interior shot of the common space, looking at a new staircase there going up to the new second story. That will be an addition to the north side that you saw in those exterior renderings. And finally, another shot here of the interior space on the second story, looking north down that new addition from the second story. So some exciting rendering shots this month. And it'll be exciting to see pricing come in next week and how that evolves the academic design. Any questions?
I have a question, but I was asked on behalf of some students to clarify. I think I know the answer, but I will say it asked, which is if the potential athletic complex is done in spring of 2027, which I know is a rough date, would that mean that track could participate in spring of 2027 in the new athletic complex, or does that mean that it will be completed through the spring of 2027?
The goal is to have it complete for that track season.
Oh, that was.
Yes.
Great, thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
And then just on the key monthly updates, we still are working on the contract for Martell, it's not finalized yet.
Correct. Back and forth, we've had comments sent back to them now.
Okay.
It's been 2 rounds, I think. So at this point, they have comments back and hopefully finalizing this month.
Thank
you,
you. Shane is up for a WHS expansion update with A&E.
Well, that would be one of the presents you walked in with that big box, I got all.
Yeah.
excited.
And I had a feeling I couldn't hand them out to you, so you'll get them eventually.
Oh.
Yeah. They're fun though. We've completed our schematic design book, as Luke mentioned, and so really the presentation is what we submitted, and that book was just really hot off the presses, and I'm sure I've already distributed a digital copy to the district, so I'm sure that'll make it to the website. So I really wanted to give a recap, complimentary to Luke, of where we've been in the last month. there was a big flurry of work in May, and really a lot of that still needs to hit the actual paper. We had our 7th committee meeting. We had what we call room data meetings or room user meetings, and that's really just diving into all of the equipment, all of the pieces that are going to go in each room and how you actually begin to use them and make sure that they're right sized. And it starts to get at the detail of where are the outlets and how does each individual room lay out. So we continue to drill down into some specificity. What are the pieces of furniture that you have? Which ones and what do you need more of? That kind of thing. How do you teach? What's the teaching style? Where's the presentation wall? Where is it controlled from? How does this work? Or are the opportunities to maybe co-teach or think about more progressive models of education and where we're going in the future? And of course, providing flexibility, not only in terms of just being able to continue to grow from an enrollment standpoint, but also in just the delivery of an education 21st century model. So, and then the last thing was the presentation for the community that happened after a long day with those room data meetings. So this is kind of the summarized version of that. And so it really starts at kind of the project goals. And then there's so those haven't changed. We really, first one's super important, future-proof and flexible learning environment. That's really what we're holding this up against. And the others are also important. That second page is a little bit of a smattering of the process of what that has looked like. We've got some candid shots from working with committees and working with students and how we evaluated different diagrams and really started to kind of drill down into where we are today. And then there's also a few diagrams that are snapshot on there as well. Really that schematic design book is the culmination of kind of the process and where we've been. And also if you have trouble sleeping at night, there's a few narratives in the back from engineers. All the pretty pictures are front loaded, so you can make your way through it pretty quick, but then it turns into a legitimate book in the back. This is really the summary of that. If you remember that concept of the Bulldog Boulevard that we spoke about in the last couple Board of Trustees updates, where this really came about from the site and looking at open space, looking at pathways, looking at where the centroids of the interior were the kind of the common spaces. There's kind of two commons, if you will, and we were looking at developing this uniform spine that we can kind of organize all the other systems along, all the other circulation pathways, and begin to kind of group classrooms and uses and around that organization feature. So something that just draws right through the site. So that was kind of one of those core concepts with a little bit of a bubble diagram at that level of detail. And then that began to transform into mass. So this is a little bit of summary of some of the things I've spoke about in the past as well. The next slide shows some basic massing. So we begin to think about sun and exterior circulation and how it would begin to, it's not really getting at architecture yet. It's not just a glass box attached to the building, but we're just kind of thinking down. It could be fun. We could do that. We could contrast the existing architecture. We're trying to complement it though. So we kind of start with, they look like kind of Jello cubes. You can see through them and you start to think about the push and pull of masses and then begin to fit that program into it, the individual classrooms, and figure out that balance of what it looks like outside and how it functions inside, how it sits on the land, how it addresses the adjacent roof lines and massing. Starts to make it look like it was always there, and that it really is contiguous with the rest of the campus. And then that next slide is a diagrammatic section. So it was an early idea how this could work, and you can see the evolution of that through some of the coming renderings. So that you begin to see how maybe we start to incorporate daylight and think about a double height space adjacent to the gym wall. And there were early ideas of how do we begin to kind of organize all the accolades, the achievements in athletics and activities, and be able to kind of see more of the wall other than just the space above the gym doors that we see currently with awards and Hall of Fame and all the years of kind of recognition. Can't remember what the next slide is. We start getting into some really legitimate floor plans, and you start seeing kind of how this starts to lay out. These are far from construction documents yet, but they're taken the program that was color coded. So the independent high school and is one of the greens on there. Art is another green. The bright blue is CTE, the little bit kind of more royal blue is kind of a universal classroom, a general learning lab. Resources identified in the bright blue, culinary and hospitality are in that gold and purple kind of middle of the plan that flank the gym doors. And then everything that mostly what we're not touching, and I kind of say that with a caveat, is kind of dithered back into the background. It's kind of washed out. Those are the things that we're not touching. And I say with the caveat because there's other miscellaneous remodels that need to happen. There's other upgrades with deferred maintenance that needs to be touched there. But these are really the areas of higher level of remodel and new construction. So you can kind of blur your eyes and get a real sense of where we're touching the building, but there are definitely exceptions to that when it comes to other building systems and needs for addressing deferred maintenance. Moving to some of those perspectives that Luke had shared a moment ago. At one point, we thought maybe we would even combine our presentations here, so you see a few redundancies in there. I just got the larger version of it, so mine looks better. At some point, Luke's going to have a lot of pictures that are going to consume his report. And it's going to be all the things that are happening on site, and you're going to see a lot of this design language kind of fade into the background. So we're in this time of design where the progress is really most easily shown by snipping these types of renderings. So I presented this in the last board update, but we're really developing a warmer palette and a rhythm that we're starting to work off of the existing architecture. To a degree, this is a little bit of its own thing. It starts to set itself up a little bit different, but very complementary to the existing building that is just a little over a decade old now at this point, at least the newest edition. And so it begins to almost kind of hide the oldest piece of the building, that mansard, the kind of the dark bronze metal comes off the gym, and this kind of shields it. In some ways, this takes a lot of design restraint because it feels like a classroom wing addition. And architects kind of want to dabble in the land of where's the entry and where's the kind of grand move. And we really think this is a bit of this kind of the backdrop. It's an extension to the existing facility, and we're keeping the entry in the same place. So how do we kind of steer people into that from a site design perspective, and being really thoughtful about how do we have a nice quality building, but to a degree it's almost understated, that you're really trying to show that design restraint and have it be complementary to the rest of the facility. Perspective of that entry. We did get a comment from that community meeting, really good comment about feeling like this is Whitefish Resort High School because of that logo. So we'll have to be really thoughtful. That was a really good comment. We've talked about how you can't make us cry because we all survived architecture school. So we welcome the criticism. In fact, I would welcome more of it than we've received. You've been pleasant to work with, but that doesn't mean that you can't give us that critical feedback. It's really important to the success of it, of the project. So there's still a lot of work to be done on all the detail, including that sign. But some kind of monument sign there that really denotes the entry. It's a site component that really reinforces where the existing entry is. And there was thought put into that of whether administration moves or it stays, and how do you work with it if it stays? Or do you create a new front door again in this project? And what happens with the next edition? And the committee landed on this being the best move from a cost standpoint, and really let's drive the design around finding that front door. So that's what we're continuing to work on through this design. Yes.
This, sometimes it's not really noticeable right away, but the closure of the
Yes.
areas.
Yeah, it does get kind of almost lost in some of these renderings because you're always looking on the left side. So if you remember when you're walking into the high school, and you're more or less on the west sidewalk of the drop-off loop. So up in that upper right is actually an enclosure of the library. The library is kind of in the higher roof form, and then there's that open deck currently. We love that kind of interior exterior blend as architects, but oftentimes the spaces end up being underutilized, and it's hard in our environment. Try to drive kids outside and create those opportunities as much as we can, but this space was maybe deemed better and more usable if we actually captured it as interior space. So there's a roof there, and then there's a floor structure under it. So it'd be a matter of, it's not, it's like making it overly easy, but you're putting up essentially 2 walls to enclose that. You still got to think about some lighting systems and finishes and HVAC and those kinds of things. But yeah, certain elements of schools are very hard to expand. As you think about more classroom space, what does that mean for the commons? What does it mean for the gym? What does it mean for the library? Sometimes those aren't as easily expanded when it comes to dealing with enrollment increase and planning for that enrollment increase. So those kind of core pieces of it, if you don't right size them right out of the gate and really have a real long kind of view of what enrollment might be, those are very tricky spaces. That commercial kitchen's another one. Just how do you deal with that influx of students? And a more pulled back version, so you're standing kind of with your back to the CSE, or is probably actually off to your right slightly here. If you're looking back at the full edition and catching a little bit of the gym and the music wing and the on the left there, kind of in the upper left. And then this is not to be forgotten about, this edition on the back as well, the CTE. So this is the expansion off of the welding and woods, and has a handful of classrooms back here that are more shop spaces and a fabrication hall. So that's kind of in the zone where we have the fenced driver's ed vehicles and the portable mill currently. So there's been a lot of thought developed around how do we really embrace the drift boat company that the district has purchased. How do we incorporate things like that into the curriculum? Where do material storage go, and how can we maybe drag some of those projects outside and work on them outside when that makes sense, and really start to kind of almost build out what's been dubbed as the fur alley side of the school, really start to kind of expand it to its maximum that way, while still allowing for deliveries for the commercial kitchen. You got deliveries for metals and woods happening here, trash pickup, fire trucks still need to get back here. There's a lot of large vehicles that we still need to think about accessing this space from time to time. So it really starts to kind of round out that edge of the property. And you just think about the high school sans athletics, but you think about just the parking and the vehicular circulation out back, and what space do you have left for building. And then some interior shots. So this is on the second floor of the addition looking north. So you see on the right, just beyond the female scale figures in there, you've got a little light well, so you can see some of that natural light that was in that original kind of building section concept. So you actually get this connectivity down to the lower level, and where you get this kind of full extent of that gym wall, where we can be doing those fun things with environmental graphics and showing off all the accolades. And you can be able to actually read them up high, because you'll have access to the second floor and can see them from that level, as well as the first floor. So you got this connection between the 2 floors. Classrooms over on the left. And this is a view from the current commons, so the sunken commons from the 2013 edition. And then you're really looking back towards the courtyard near the entry. So next time you're in the commons, that brace frame that's on the left, which is the kind of dark gray structure there, that X on the left, that exists today. And so you can kind of orient yourself that way if you remember what that's like, or next time you're in the high school. So it's looking out through the windows that are there currently. You would be filling that in and creating an extension of the commons with that staircase that leads upstairs. When you stand at the top of that staircase and turn left, you'll have the view that we just looked at on the previous slide. This is below that first view. So we're down on the first floor with the gym entry off to the right. This is a look at a space that would be, it's kind of an extended commons as well, but it could be closed off or separated differently, that it could be used for after hours events, a number of them. And then in particular, it sits between culinary arts and hospitality. And so they have a lot of synergies and uses for a space like this. So it's kind of open for all, and then might be scheduled at certain hours for their curriculum. And then beyond, you get a glimpse into the student store, and then the business classroom is just beyond that. So this is an opportunity for having that student store available to during events, and having fans be able to go and make purchases in the student store. One of the shortcomings of the current design, the current building, is that it's on the other side of the barrier when close down the school and then put it in event mode and keep people from being able to get back into admin and classroom areas. The student store is on the other side of that barrier, and so people can't access it during those times. So this really makes it a prime retail place where you get a captive audience coming out of the events. And then this gives an idea of some of the flexible seating and spaces we're planning for. This is an idea in the independent high school. So if you remember, we've got the existing independent high school on the south end of the building. And then working our way north, there's an art room and a business classroom, and then the current school store. So the idea is that the independent high school would grow north into that space, and then there would be a suite of student services just north of that would have an adjacency with current administrative spaces as well. This is a look in the independent high school. And then we take a hard pivot over to the athletics on the other side, not to be forgotten. And I think this pretty much matches my previous presentation hand in hand, but I'll give it, or kind of step for step, but I'll give a quick reminder that this is a 10-lane track on the oval and on the straightaway. And to the north is a long and triple jump with expansion, with an opportunity to expand with another long and triple jump set of lanes. Just inside the oval on the north side is there are two pole vault pits. And then in the left D zone, so that's kind of inside the oval, but outside the west end zone of the football field, is high jump. It's also set up to have one on the other side as well, as that event grows. And then you also have an opportunity to be working with middle schoolers at that time as well. You've got a football and soccer field grass that's set up in the middle. We've got planning for a nice underlaying drainage system under that field. So it'd be a sand-based system, which is really more of a premium kind of field that has good drainage and also reduces sports injuries and concussions and those types of things. Continuing to work our way south, we've got kind of a fenced line, which is also, so that kind of keeps the athletes and coaches separate from the parents and fans. And that aligns with the front side of the bleachers. We still have our 1,500 seat bleacher system south of that, with proper viewing angles for that outside lane on the track. We've got our announcer, scorekeeper booth up above that also accommodates kind of home and away teams. So for all modes, soccer, football, and track. And then to the left of that kind of east-west spine is our field building, and you'll see a little blown up version of that in a moment, but that's a combination of buildings that it's actually deemed as one building, but it looks like two in plan, where it's concessions, a little bit of IT space and ticketing, and then storage and restrooms. You actually enter right between what looks like the two buildings. So you kind of come in underneath a roof, you get a little bit of respite, and then kind of squeezed out into the rest of the facility. Then number 5 is a practice field, which would be slated for that future stadium. And then all your throws are happening over on that, call it the southeast quadrant. So that's your shot put, javelin, discus. The hoop garden would remain where it currently is as planned. Next slides are just blown up versions of those, so you get a little bit better idea of that field building, and then the announcer booth at the top of the bleachers, and then even enlarged yet again of that kind of the north half of the field building, and then south half of it. And there's also, so as we're proceeding into these next phases, there still continues to be some room for some modification and reductions here. You just want to continue kind of managing budget and making sure that we're meeting code, meeting the intent of the bond. Of course, making it last and be beautiful at the same time. It's kind of the balance of all the things we strive to achieve as a design team. I think is that the last slide? I think so. Okay, I made it. Questions?
Now I see why you bring water with you.
I did.
Yes.
It was a much longer when it was the community meeting. It was a much longer presentation, and I split it in half with one of my colleagues.
Any questions?
I have a couple. Yeah, go. So I was just wondering, on the bathroom pictures, the very last slide, are those drinking fountains outside the restroom?
There are drinking fountains out there. What the best solution for that? They're required by code.
So I just think we should always offer free water.
Yeah.
Like, it just bothers me when you always have to like pay
Yeah.
for water, so I just think free water should be an option.
And like the
So,
bottle kind
Yeah.
Bottle fills, like,
Yeah,
I agree.
So I was just making sure that's what that was.
That-
of, yeah, like a practice field. Like
They're required by code. My hesitation in there was I feel like it's still a little unresolved because we've been talking about the ability to winterize this building.
Yeah.
And that's always a challenge with those exterior. You just gotta get the right, it's a maintenance item. So it's one of those things I would love for it to be inside, but where it really goes with this building. Kind of gotta be outside.
Yeah, unless you put like one in each side, each doorway for the men and the women, but then. So drinking fountain.
Yes.
And then regarding the wrestling room and like the cheerleading and how's that coming together?
Yes, I glazed over. It's probably half or a third of the way through the presentation.
That anything, 'cause
Yeah. It's a little unresolved yet. We know we need to accommodate for wrestling, and I think there's probably a greater longer term plan for wrestling as well. That probably plays out with that football stadium at that time. But the more immediate plan is we are looking at, so on the southeast corner of the gym. That space is really underutilized today. Yeah, it's that darker brown space. So that's where we have some cardio equipment. Some sort, yes, yeah. Yeah, it's got a number in it that represents just when we're counting kids and teaching stations and things. And internal use, that little dot, but that space is about the right size for 1.5 wrestling mats.
Okay.
And so what that next move is, I think while this is being redone, there's probably a season where wrestling exists at the middle school and then comes back here. And then what does that look like? And then what does that look like as that program sets itself up to expand?
So it's a temporary move to the middle.
Correct. Yeah.
Remember if wrestling or a bonus room, is that part of our bond language?
Not specifically.
Okay.
I think it was part of the original because the original bond that failed, that had both pieces combined, had an accommodation for it out in the site as its own standalone building.
Yeah, got it. So you have more flexibility
And then
there.
that was reduced when
Got it.
the bond was repackaged.
There was discussion of the expansion of multi-purpose,
Yeah,
but not,
but it's not in the language, so.
that's, well, it does say
Doesn't say
multi-purpose,
wrestling.
but
Oh.
it doesn't say specific.
Okay,
And we have that in multiple places.
that could qualify.
It
as
could
multi-type
technically
purpose. Okay.
meet that criteria.
Okay,
For sure.
okay.
It's just whether or not it's. Wants a little longer, I think there's some questions, like, yeah, we haven't resolved that here.
Got it.
It's one of them.
Yeah, because it did go through 2 rounds, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah, the second one was just a moment.
Okay.
I think the community heard that the wrestling was moving to the middle school and that's all they heard, and that has created some chatter
Yeah.
amongst the people of the wrestling community and, so,
That original fast track schedule, they would already be over at the middle school probably because their building would be gone, like next week. Yeah. So we're not on that path anymore, so we got a little bit more time to resolve it. But yeah, that's where we were originally heading. Faster moving schedule, that building they're currently in needed to go away.
Right.
So we're gonna need to find out for immediate wrestling season. I think that will still probably play out when we look at the phasing plan, which we're just starting to dig into as this is all settling down. And now Martell needs to figure out what's the most optimal way to build it. That's try to mitigate some of the disruptions to school, but we know there's still be some disruptions. There's a balance point in as we continue to operate amongst a co-occupied construction site slash school.
Can I ask a question? And I don't know if this is you question or a Carrie question.
Mm.
Is, if I were in an airport and I was at like the orange block on the far, and then I had to go down to this, like, how often do kids have to do that? Like, is this logistically doable in, whatever between class? I don't know this answer. I'm just guessing. It looks fun. That's all I'm saying. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's gonna be
I think in
this way.
relation to the current setting, if you
Yeah.
vision going from the music room, current music room,
Mhm.
to the far end of the building, if you went all the way down past the office, you know, down to the. This is really the extension. If you look at the existing building, it's not far in relation to what already exists.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it feels very feasible.
Very much, yeah, very much improved from the previous design that did sprawl a long ways.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, so this feels comfortable for, okay.
Yeah.
My other question along those lines is that I know, Josh could comment on this, is that because the classes coming up are bigger, they're louder. Correct? I hear a lot about this, in the cafeteria, et cetera. So with the more open space and the bigger common zone, like, is that a concern for the classrooms then that are close, or? Like, what does that look like if you have people in that hub, but then you also have people in the classroom next to? I'm just curious.
It's a good question. We have an acoustic consultant on board that they're about ready to dig in and actually get to work on this. That we know enough of those acoustic design principles when we're laying this out that we gotta be careful about some adjacencies and things.
Sure.
I always hire the same consultant for three things in the school. One is room acoustics. So we're not doing anything to the gym in this case, but it's usually like gym, music rooms. In this case, it's the commons. Just what is the room acoustics from the performance when you have that many people just talking? And if you've been in a restaurant that has no acoustic treatments, it's rough. It's almost as bad as the space being overheated. It's just a different sense that is uncomfortable. So that's one thing. Another one is the sound transmission through the walls, without getting totally nerdy on it. It's just thinking about first solving it with adjacencies, but also just what is the wall assembly between them. So sometimes you add other layers of sheetrock, or it might be a double stud, or you might be thinking about other assemblies that actually reduce that sound transfer from one space to another. So we want to be thoughtful classroom to classroom, classroom to corridor. If there's a restroom or anything nearby, we also want to be thoughtful about that adjacency. Obviously, that's why music ends up being kind of at one end of the building, because they are kind of the biggest noise makers. But yeah, those are really important adjacencies and things to be thinking about. Test taking and where do you get your quiet space? Those things all are really important thoughts. And then the third, not to be forgotten, is HVAC noise. Oftentimes you can hear an air handler kick on, or you feel a vibration through the building. And sometimes that can also be a pathway between adjacent rooms that are served by the same ductwork. So my voice might go up through that register and out in the one next door. So be thoughtful about sound attenuation through the HVAC system. So that consultant is on board for all three of those things on your project as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I've had classrooms next to a gym before, and we started the balance for the walls like all the time. So I'm like, I wonder how
Those
culinary is gonna like that.
those impacts and the impact noises, and then you've also oftentimes you're working out in there. So I've been in there measuring things.
You hear.
And the music's been awesome. It was like I think the gym teacher and I might be the same age and went to high school at the same time. The selection was great.
You approve. That's
Yeah.
it, yeah. Thank you. I was just curious.
I have a question. I love light and I love like skylights, but at the same time, I always, like, I feel like living here, I don't know one person who's never replaced a skylight in their house or they get like filmy. And so is that, I don't know the thoughts.
It's a very good question. And Chad was channeling you as we sat on the committee. We're not doing flat skylights. They're actually, it's just easier to call them a skylight. they're flat in that diagram, but if you actually go to the rendering, that's, I don't know, 2/3 of the
think
way
it's
through
page
there.
8,
It doesn't give you the best view of it, but it's actually vertical glazing. It's actually more of a clear story, sometimes called a roof monitor. Yeah. You're just about there. It was the first rendering, the first interior rendering.
There's that one, and then.
But you can see a little line of them up there on the roof. You see the vertical glazing.
See, so it's just like coming in and then.
You got it. Yeah, so it's more like the roof is doing this and the glazing is vertical, so the sun's able to come in into that volume without
And
having.
then
to
I'll be,
sunshine.
like, you have to clean those windows.
They're touched less, but yes. in
You're
occasion,
touching
yes.
less.
Yeah,
I have some windows in my house that I really regret.
yeah.
It's like,
You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
they will get dusty, no
Okay.
doubt, and there's gonna be some maintenance on the roof anyway, so it's probably a good time to clean them when you're up there, like. Not you, but when Chad's up there, we're up there cleaning out rainwater leaders and things like that. What's probably gonna happen as we get systems incorporated into this is that between those skylights, so you won't have one in every structural bay, but there will be mechanical units sitting between them, and we're gonna work to screen those with kind of, it'll feel like kind of one volume of skylights and kind of mechanical screening. Try to be thoughtful about not having these big mechanical units that we fight mechanical engineers on ruining the architecture. Yeah. So there'll be other things to maintain up there.
Is there any concern about the roofs being flat with our snow and that kind of thing?
It's a good question. How deep do you want to dive into buildings?
Well.
I just, on your first one, it kind of shows it, how it works.
Here's, yes, there were a few diagrams in
Yeah.
those early presentations. It was pretty small in this one, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I had that same question.
so structurally, we design them for whatever the roof shape is.
Mhm.
All of 93 North and Kalispell is big box stores. They're 40,000 square foot buildings that have a low slope roof.
Okay.
And if you put a gable on them, like Lowe's has a faux one on the front, right? But if it literally had a gable, that thing would be 5 times as tall as it is or more.
Yeah.
With a 412 pitch.
Much more expensive.
There's a yin and yang to doing roof design in snow country. And you gotta be really thoughtful about entering on kind of the gable side and not on the eave side. You have that challenge right now on the current F wing that we'll be demolishing. Next time you approach the high school, you see the amount of snow breaks up there. There's these little angles that are attached to the roof. And they're meant to hold the snow, as that roof material sloughs the snow, creates an icy mess, can hit people, can hold and then slide. So there's a lot of thought about roof form and roof material and whether you want to hold snow or slough snow. Be really thoughtful about where that's done. Of course, sloped roofs slough the snow quickly unless they're asphalt shingles, which is the high school, it holds them. So just making sure we're kind of being consistent with our strategies in that. It's really nice having a flat roof, gives you the opportunity to really control water and runoff on the roof and not have ice damming and other things that are maintenance issues that Chad's dealing with.
So you've thought a lot about it. I do want to say, I'm very impressed with the bathrooms in the facility. You did a lot more female than you did male. That was very good.
I'll give credit to the people that wrote the codes because we just followed the codes. They already counted for the, the classic
Yeah.
female restroom line being way longer than it is.
That was wonderful.
Good questions.
I have one more question and somebody else's one. Back to the athletics part. There was a specific question about because Polson as well as Hamilton, I think, have options where it's for track specifically, not just football, that you can utilize the scoreboard to show like real time of events, like people crossing the finish line kind of stuff. Certainly that's obviously a budget thing, all the things, but is that the type of thing that you like lay the electrical, so to speak, foundation for, so that at a later time, if someone fundraises?
Yeah.
Is that how that works, or what's the concept behind those kind of detailed things of the athletics? Because I didn't know it.
Those boards are very different, aren't they? It's football and soccer. Soccer has fewer things to,
Yeah.
but they're pretty similar. Track is harder.
Track is
All
hard.
the track events are harder. A video board would be amazing if we could make that work and financially.
Right.
I know the Booster Club has already raised some money and they've got
Right.
enough money for kind of more your typical board right now. I would say even if that board wanted to get upgraded into the future, if we can't accomplish it in this project, there's still conduits with the power
That's awesome.
and the there's lots of different ways to control them now. It might be wireless or it might
And
be.
even just at like, even if it's on the track, just like the real time clock, like a lot,
Yes.
that's great.
Eric Harris and I have also spoke about other opportunities because how do we start thinking about some Wi-Fi outside?
Right.
And also some strategic power. So in light poles, putting some line voltage power in there. So at the end of the high jump, triple jump, that you could have another standalone board that wouldn't be there during a football or soccer game.
Yeah.
Also some power near the goalposts. So not only for the play clock in those sports, but also could be those additional boards for those additional events. So there might be, even if it's not on that video board that's marked as, or not on that scoreboard. If the scoreboard marked as 4 is not a video board on day 1, there's still going to be other opportunities to control those things. Eric was talking about some systems where I just need a board to plug in and I could actually run it off of an iPad standing there.
Yeah. There's potentials, if I just want to make sure we're boxed in, but cool.
Yes, yeah. And for that flexibility, good question.
I just also wanted to say, somebody went, but probably one of your few people who had a community engagement meeting. Just talked about how engaging it was and how much they enjoyed it and how well it was organized and facilitated and said nothing but great things to say about the team that was there and how it went. So really didn't have a lot of people, I think people who showed up were really happy with the entire process. So
Awesome.
thank you for
Thank you.
providing that for our community.
That's high praise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Those are always fun. It's fun to show it off. It's also a little tense because you're in the crosshairs. It was good. The feedback was all really good. We'll take the constructive feedback too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On to out of district students.
Okay. So, this is a list of out of district students for next school year. And these students, grade ranges throughout the district K through 12, with the exception of 6th grade. That area will hold 6th grade for the next school year. But these are the criteria to be recommended for out of district enrollment for the 25-26 school year.
Is the bold line that delineate a mistake or a delineation of elementary versus high?
Is this the full list of our out of district students for next
For next school year to start the year at this time. We'll do another one of these in August.
Okay.
You'll have to consider applications in August. But we specifically indicated in our policy that June is the time we'll consider recommendations for the following year.
Can I ask you a clarifying question? Just like you said, 6th grade specifically being full, does that mean it's at like an 80% capacity? So that if 2 new kids moved into 6th grade, like moved to the district, we're in our district.
It's at 87% right now,
87%,
so it's already above this criteria, so we can't consider an out of district applicant at this time. Now that can change. So in the future, that could change, decline in enrollment in that area.
Okay.
Consider some change.
From like that early elementary sees fewer out of district than like middle school or vice versa.
It's fairly consistent, although there's quite a few kindergartner district students in this group, which is a good thing. Our kindergarten enrollment is low this year so far. So, but I would say that's where our highest number is, but then the rest of it's fairly spread out evenly amongst the kids.
Did that include, since the last meeting, we talked about kids that had been, like maybe they moved out of district but stayed in the system, or?
These are brand new students who are
Okay.
requesting to be enrolled in our district for next year.
So
The
kids that were.
previous time we did renewals,
Yeah,
people are
okay.
currently with us.
Okay,
So these are brand new students.
So
requesting
this
to-
isn't the total number of students that are out of district.
No,
These are
last
just the
month
new
had.
ones.
This is
Last
just,
month was on the list.
Right.
yeah, this is just the new students for next year at this time. Yeah.
There any others? There any public comment? Back to the board for more discussion or a motion.
I'll move the approve.
Second.
Moved by Katie, seconded by Rainey, all in favor. Okay, back to Mr. Beans for out of district application denial.
And for this, this is a recommending, administration recommends denial of out district enrollment application for the following student. Was represented by a number, for the 25-6 school year, because adding another student would exceed our 87% accreditation cap for the grade level as referenced in the Whitefish district.
Any public comment? Back to the board for a motion or further discussion.
Good, get the question, what? Assuming you accepted, one more student, what does that put us at? For saying,
Was over 87%.
I understand, you know, would it be 99?
No.
I don't know, I'm not exactly sure, no, I don't. But it's over 87%.
so if somebody moved into the district and it's close to 87%,
You have to take it.
If they move
Yeah.
the district, which means absolutely.
Yeah, the difference is, anybody in the district, you can take, that's why we have an 87% cap. This gives us that room to be able to consider people who move into the district.
The only thing I notice is it, and maybe this is wrong, maybe the question I'm asking is, it appears that there might be related students to this student because there was a 25244, there was a 25344, now there's a 25444. And are they real family? I mean, all I can think of is two members of the family got in and one didn't.
The numbers have no bearing.
No, they don't
Okay.
have any bearing
Good.
on that.
Good.
They're random numbers that are generated, although that can happen.
That would be a difficult part.
So they would make hard on family.
Yeah, that's right.
I move we approve it as.
I asked.
Okay, so I heard that.
So moved by Quincy, seconded by Katie, all in favor. Okay. Item H, Flathead Crossroads Agreement with Evergreen School District.
Thank you. Recommended for the board's approval is our annual agreement with the Evergreen School District, specifically with the Crossroads program, to provide student services.
Any questions?
This is the same thing we do every year, right? This is the same thing we do every year, yes.
Were there any big changes to the contract? Anything noteworthy?
Nothing noteworthy.
Any other questions? For any public comment? Back to the board for a motion or further discussion.
I move we accept the agreement as written. Second.
Okay, moved by Jerry, seconded by Ray, all in favor. Back to Lucy for the interlocal agreements with only the Soul School District.
Okay, thank you. Presented for the board's approval are two pupil transportation agreements. The first agreement is for busing services for students residing in the Whitefish School District who attend the Olney Whistle District. These students will be picked up at designated bus stops within the Whitefish School District. And the second agreement is for busing services for students residing in the Olney Whistle District who attend the Whitefish District. These students will be picked up at designated bus stops within the Olney Whistle District. Again, these are our annual agreements. We present them here at the June board meeting. Okay, so it's just that.
Are there any questions? Any public comment? Any further discussion with the board or motions?
I move we accept as presented.
Second. Moved by Darcy and seconded by Katie, all in favor. Oh, unison.
We all got there.
Okay, moving into J, which is our extra duty renewals. No name, I just pick you.
So, yeah, so administration recommends approval of our extra duty renewals at this time for the middle school and for extra duty renewals for the high school as well.
Are there any questions?
Are there any personal conduct issues we need to be aware of?
No.
Any other questions? Any public comment?
I think I had the same comment last year, but it'd be cool if one of these days the extra duty for the high school had my new last name on it. It's fine.
Well done.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea how that's happening.
No, it's okay, you know.
This one's really not.
It took Mr. Ross a little bit of time because he retired when I got married, and then when he came back and he was just like, I just keep hearing about this Ms. Odell person. She sounds really great. Like, who is that? So, you know, it's fun. You know, one of these days, it'd be cool. I can fully embrace it.
I think we might get it.
All right. Just no apostrophe.
Back to the board for further discussion or a motion.
I guess I just want to acknowledge, like, we talk a lot about, community involvement and student engagement, and a lot of these people on these two lists do a ton for our students, so, yes. I just want to say thank you.
Well, I really like the layout of this and how everyone's
Yes.
presented, like, we
Yes.
know the head coach, assistant, freshman, kind of how we had talked about it. And I do like how, you know, specifically who everybody is and what they're doing within every program. I like how it was presented.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
I move we present.
I'll second. Moved by Darcy, seconded by Jerry, all in favor.
Did we get the name change on
Yeah.
that? Thank you.
Mr. Means, personnel for recommendations for hire.
So our next group of recommendation for hire are we have assistant wrestling coach and temporary sort of jump start paraeducators and those positions are listed here. Speech language pathologist, cross country coach, support language as well, and their support language. So all these positions are recommended for hire, including some guest teachers as well.
Any questions?
I have two questions. One is on the form that's attached, Dave. So it talks about like, this one is a very good one, this is the only one. So it says number of applicants and then number of finalists. And then it says interviewed, and I'm kind of confused. If you go down to Johanna Basket. It says there were 6 applicants, there were 6 finalists, but then interviewed, it doesn't, it's like blank, and it's blank on all of them, so I don't know what interviewed means. Cause one says that they had 3 applicants, only 1 finalist, so did they only interview that one person? Then,
Could I answer that? Yeah.
sure.
The word interviewed is actually attached to the previous number of applicants interviewed is.
Oh, number of finalists interviewed.
It prints out kind of weird in this.
And that makes a lot more sense, because
Way
I
more
think like,
sense.
we have finalists, and I'm like, this is like crazy, to know we would have finalists in it.
Oh, great point, Jen.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we can-
Okay, so it's just a formatting issue of the,
Interview.
okay,
You just say number interviewed.
okay, number interviewed,
Number
yeah.
interviewed.
Okay, thanks, Carrie, that makes a lot more sense. I was really confused.
All too narrow.
I was going with all sorts of ideas.
Yeah, number interview.
Never interviewed me.
Yeah, number interviewed.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then my other question is, I thought we talked at one point of making sure we had like, when we were interviewing for building staff, we had either like that subject or grade level staff member helping with the interview, like more of a committee process. And the same with coaches, that we would have coaches sitting in on those interviews.
Well, we
Is
do.
that not something, I don't, drawn a blank, I thought we had.
We had to do some training recently in our interview process of hiring, and we do include those in our interview. Different personnel, not on the internal interviews. Our coaching and extracurricular positions are done a little bit differently with primarily administration. Sometimes coaches are involved, hence if it's an assistant coach versus a head coach.
Okay.
And then we do include other people on the interview group team. But they don't necessarily ask the questions, but they provide input at the end in terms of the candidates, and then the decision is made by administration. The reason it looks a little different here is the administrators are listed as the people making the recommendation.
Okay, so when it says like members of the interview team, you would put staff
We
as
didn't,
part of the
we
committee?
don't list them all there,
Okay,
they're there. But,
okay,
but not in all cases, because we don't have staff on internal.
right, so it's just, if it's a
External.
external.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we had, I remember that, we had talked about when you went to the training, the MTSBA activities training, how important it was to have multiple stakeholders represented on those committees. So it doesn't look like that on the form, but you're saying it is like that. in
It is that
reality.
way, and it has been something we've been working on. Specifically trying to make sure that the administration are making that recommendation, and that's clear, and that's what this is about. But also, we do include other people in those interviews, it's just that they're not asking the questions necessarily, but they give an opportunity for them to provide input at the end.
They're just not considered members of the interview team.
Exactly.
So do the people who are not on the interview team, like you said, they're there not to ask questions, but are they still, I don't know how you say it, voting or scoring, like are they?
There's no scoring
Or however
away from that process.
you do it? Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
and we've done that for quite a while, so we're taking notes and information, and the team makes a recommendation based on what's best fit for that position. They have an opportunity to provide input on that. At the end of that process.
I think it would be I guess, as a community member, if they went into our minutes for a meeting or and looked at this, and would it be inappropriate to show everyone who was involved in the decision, just to show that full transparency that, yeah, there are actually
Other people.
15 people with, or whatever it is.
And they provide input to the process.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it might
That'd
be
be
a
helpful.
long one,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Cause then you could, like you said, your example, I'm assuming like Dave Criscio, like since he's internal,
There won't be.
there won't be, so like Tyler and Josh would be, they'd just be the beep. Right, cause it's internal, right, so that makes sense.
In some
Yeah.
extracurricular positions, might look that way a little bit, because you have
Yeah.
a head coach who's helping interview assistant coach, and so there's fewer members on some positions, but do want representation.
And I'm sure that takes a lot of work to like coordinate and schedule, so
Right.
you might as well get credit for it, but it's
Right.
seems like
Well,
through there.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that is nice and thoughtful.
Good questions.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Are all your your summer they're all filled, right? All your summer school people, or are you short people? Sorry.
Sarah is, there, we
Yeah.
are short.
Sarah.
I think we still need to fill the counts, so we may be re-advertising which position here in just a little bit. And then, I think.
That'll do. Yeah. Great. It's soon.
Any other questions?
That needs the counts, no problem. But everything else, we're good to go. They ready or?
Are there any other questions? Is there any public comment?
I have a little, from a WEA's perspective, I think, I appreciate that you guys asked about the teachers being on the interview committee. That's come to me a lot, especially in the last couple of months. What's going on? Why is that different? So I appreciate that you're paying attention to that. The teachers are invested in that process. Very much, especially content teachers and specialists, but.
Any other public comment? Back to the board for discussion or a motion.
We might need to clarify what the standard procedure is someplace, so. Why it's one way one time and why it's another.
Yeah,
way.
just
Right, the internal is not a committee.
Yes.
Internal is
Yeah.
a committee, these are
Right.
members of the committee, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We could provide an update to that.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that could be, and that would be helpful for teachers to know if there was a standard procedure, if it's in-house as opposed to out of district.
And I guess the why behind it was updated was just for.
Based on legal guidance.
Okay.
Making sure that we're up to date with those kind of practices, be sure we're following. You know, proper hiring.
I'll move we approve.
I second. Sorry.
No,
I
by
thought you
Queenie and seconded, by Quincy, all those in favor. Okay, moving to reports. Trustee announcements. And big enough. Yeah, that's summer's. Oh, no. No, so, after. I think after having a few meetings and had a meeting with the admin team and Dave, as well as talking to all the board members and getting everybody's input. I think what it could work best is having 2 work sessions this summer with Deborah Silk. So they would be essentially July 22nd, which we had talked about, and then the work session in August. Which would be, I don't have it on here.
26th.
Yeah, so it'd be the 26th. And the way it would look essentially, or my vision of it would be the 22nd, I think would be a board, very much focused on the board and professional development with Deborah and having with the 7 of us. While it will be an open meeting, but really kind of focusing on governance and having her come and speak. And then the meeting in August, having her come back to be a bit of a facilitator with us and admin teams and just discussing, you know, we're talking about these ideas of the processes and transparency and trust and kind of, but I think the board, we really have to meet first and really hash out kind of, I don't know, just have our conversation about what is, and that's my vision. If anyone else has a different vision, I'm open to it, but.
So you said that July would be looking at professional development for us.
Kind of just for us, yeah,
That she would be doing that?
yes,
Helping us.
yes, she'll be helping us, and then she's gonna come back. For the second work session,
My
So-
only thought, go ahead.
yeah, you go ahead.
Nope, my only thought is because yeah, just logistics. so that it makes the one, when she comes, with less of the focus on just the board, more of the group, mediation stuff, is the day before the first day of school.
Is that-
So I'm just not sure if that's awesome for everybody,
There.
for her or everybody else.
Right.
It's that first week.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious from like a team standpoint, if that is the, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, that is what it is.
I think that's, I don't know.
And I guess this is the question, I don't know, is like, can a work session move? I mean, can we
Yeah, we
move
could
it?
move on.
So say we could move it maybe the before or something like that. I don't know though what that looks like. If that's still just, I don't know. It's like,
When's the admin back?
yeah, what is
The
good,
14th.
what's bad.
14th.
So after that, yeah, like.
So like,
Well,
what would be
the
the
19th.
19th?
Actually, we're back the 11th.
The 11th.
And we have a business
No.
meeting on the 12th.
Sorry, I'm really messing you up with these. I was looking at the wrong month. It's the 18th.
The 8th.
Right?
So it's-
No.
No, it's the 11th. Sorry.
Lisa, make up your mind.
All right, so sometime between the 11th and the 18th.
People behind me are really listening to me.
Available on the 19th, Tuesday the 19th, and move our board work session from the 26th to the 19th. That would be my suggestion.
Very thoughtful.
Okay,
Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
if hopefully Deborah is
Okay.
available that
Okay.
then.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's possible. I know we tried really hard to keep our meetings on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
but if that needs to be maybe on that Wednesday, the 20th, that's
Okay,
maybe
well,
possible too or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
What day is that?
Right.
It would be either a Tuesday or
Tuesday's the
Wednesday.
19th or Wednesday the 20th.
Or it depends on-
And then my other question, and this I had, is how, I mean, do you wanna, are we thinking like 6 to 8? Is that the, I mean, obviously.
I heard say hours, I'm like, no.
No, yeah, okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah, my experience with the longer meetings is that we tend to lose attention span and
Yeah.
focus, so I feel like if we can be efficiently run.
Yeah.
And she seems like a very efficient person from the things I've participated with her in the past, and out of respect of her time.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents on that as well, but,
I-
but you can all ask her what her format might be and what it lends itself to, I think is fair as well.
20 minutes.
In and out.
She's a good lawyer, if you're paying her for 15 minutes, like you get done with this.
No, I think, just talking to her, I think that, I was trying to, how do you do it all in one? I just don't think that's possible.
I like
that.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
I appreciate that idea,
Yeah.
that's great, Elizabeth, thank you.
If that's- So,
And she is, do we know that she's available?
well, she's definitely available on, I have to call, I'll text her.
Out of their meeting.
But I'll try to see, I think she's been very, seems available, but, okay. But for sure the 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That one's good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I would just reiterate, and we had talked about this before, that if, and I'm telling this to myself as well, because summer is busy and fun, that if we do especially make this an appointment for PD and having a guest person come, that we all show up.
Yes.
It's in July, there's no guarantee. And make every point that.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, yes.
Dave, could you talk about,
Oh,
That's a Tuesday. I was thinking, it's the weekend right after.
oh, it is.
Tuesday will be okay.
Can we talk about
Yeah.
it?
Tuesday night, are you talking about 22nd?
Yeah.
It's the 19th. Hate to miss that.
Is that
You
your
didn't
Tuesday
tell me
one?
what that was. Are you going
We might
to
say
that
you
one?
Yes, I would, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, I think, I didn't want to move on to the next topic, but I do feel like we just.
Maybe that's on
figure
the
out
20th.
No, I'm just gone that week.
Oh, that.
I'm not going anywhere all summer.
For that one week.
And only from Monday to Friday.
Very long. But you can make the 22nd.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's probably the most.
I think that one.
Yeah.
I want more, I think, I'll talk more and probably talk more to you guys about what
Yeah, perfect.
that meeting,
Mhm.
what we want it
Great.
to look like. So,
Yeah, we have it as Zoom though, I guess. Fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dave, could you talk about the new stage and, why we needed it and what fund it came out of?
Sure.
If you don't mind, to help our community understand why we bought a new stage, that it wasn't paid for with bond money, maybe?
Oh. That's a good question. No, it can't be paid for bond money. We would have explored that if that was possible. And actually, we did talk about that. We've been actually analyzing the need for a stage, an ADA accessible stage, probably over 10 years. Having conversations, looking at our reserve maintenance, building and reserve maintenance. We meet monthly to look at that bond and we carefully review it. And consider what we need to maintain, what to purchase and things like that. And we're doing that regularly. We've known for that amount of time that we need to put some aside. Careful stewards of this money because we're likely going to need to purchase a stage that's accessible at some at this point in time this year, it became evident that that's what we needed. We've tried to rent those from others, and nobody has the accessible stage components. So we've been renting the stage itself, but you can't get those ramps. You can rent those from anybody. So we looked into this. Looked in those for a long time. So yeah, overall it was approximately $70,000. So it's a significant investment. About 40,000 of that, or 20,000 goes to each ramp. So that's $40,000 for the ramps themselves, and then the approximately 30,000 to the stage and some of the components that go around the stage. So it's an investment, I think, for many years to come. I think that's one thing to look at here. It can be used anywhere. So that's an exciting part of this. It can be used in all or the middle school or outside, for instance, at a stadium, graduation for any other events, things like that. But first and foremost, so it's really exciting to see that. We saw an opportunity for every student to be included, access the stage, and walk across the stage. It's wonderful to see, and I think we're just happy that we can do that. And again, it will be here.
Thank you. I think it's a fabulous purchase. Just to clarify.
I think I just will acknowledge my bias as a pediatric physical therapist, is that the ability to watch the student in his reverse walker independently get on and off, as I'm sure we were all very proud of. And last year, I remember a parent having to assist a student down the stairs and thinking that was beautiful, but also probably not what their peers were also doing. And so it's nice to make it peer matched. So I think it's great.
I do too. I think watching everybody enter and exit the exact same way.
Yes,
the volume.
Oh, it was so cool.
And
It was
hats
really
off for an incredible graduation.
Yes.
season. I mean, I know those are big lifts at each school, and all of the graduations and continuations, or what do we call them, promotions? Celebration. I've heard nothing but good things, including from like the Wax Museum and the Clap Out and the Kindergarten Circus, and it's just been really big lifts, but really meaningful, and I think tweaks like that speak volumes about what we stand for. While expensive, I mean, so worth it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it speaks to our priorities for sure.
Yeah, I think
Yes, I think it's money well spent.
Yeah.
I was just fielding.
Yes, I appreciate you
I
bringing
think
that
it's important.
to have a discussion about it. Yeah.
It's a good discussion, but like you said, it does. Priority for safe, wisdom, welcome in school. It was great to see that. And I think again, we can use it in many different ways. We're excited about that. And looking forward to that. And again, maybe in your future, it'll be outside.
Good job finding the money for it.
Well, I think talking with Sarah the day before graduation, just the effort it took to put the stage together and like the practice and how much time people spent like honing it and making it you know, they didn't.
Comfortable.
Yeah, it was just, I think it took just a lot of effort, so it was, yeah,
So
it was
thoughtful.
really nice.
Great.
Are there any other trustee announcements?
I don't know if it's an announcement, but more of a question, and I don't know, Dave, if this is a question for you to explore. But that there is designated parking at the high school just for athletes,
Well, I can explore that.
if that's true or not, I don't know if it's, no, you didn't know from the back room.
I had not heard of that, you know.
Okay.
So yeah,
The only.
They said it was for
They
them.
made it up.
They said it was for them.
Yeah.
Could
What
I
is
answer
it, Greg?
that? Is that okay?
Yes, please. I'm
Um,
sorry, I'm not the chair anymore, I forget.
Yes.
No, other than some staff designated parking, music teachers, shared staff that have to travel between the buildings. Handicap designated parking, and then there is a lot that is outside of the locker rooms that we have designated as the senior lot. And they have to have a different colored placard. Our students that park on our campus have to buy a parking permit for $5 for the whole year. But it's a different color for the seniors in that lot. And that was actually driven by the student council a handful of years ago that came up with that idea. And to help the seniors get the premier parking, but there's nothing specifically for athletes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Just, I like to squash these rumors while I can, I mean,
Please do.
yeah, like it's part of my job.
Any other announcements?
I was just gonna say, because Dave and I have had conversations, that, and it had come up before the topic, I don't know, several weeks ago now, but I appreciate, the continuing conversations about, speaking of athletes and speaking of transitions, that as we have a big group of eighth graders moving up to ninth grade and looking at all the activities and things they want to participate in, is truly looking at like a sticker shock cost, the participation in these activities, that's beyond just the activity fee, but in theory, an estimate, which I know can always move, but if I try for volleyball and I make the volleyball team, how much are those volleyball shoes? And yes, I'm required to wear the same volleyball shoes as everybody else. Like, just what does that look like in cost? And if I join DECA and I wanna go on a trip, how much does that cost? Out of me, out of pocket. I think that's very helpful in these times of financial strain for lots of families. Just a plan,
You know,
if that's possible. I know that it's hard, but I think it's helpful.
I appreciate you commenting on that. I know we've talked about it here in
Yeah.
different sessions and things like that before. We have been doing some in that area. They are working on making sure that those kind of lists are kind of delineated for people who are coming into those programs.
Yeah.
As well as looking at considering a cap.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that's, there's some work in that area. And we'll see some of that coming soon as students start enrolling.
And you had also mentioned that one scholarship is perhaps underutilized that offers support for things, so how
Yes,
that information's rolled out and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's just,
Yep. There's definitely some work going on in that area. Appreciate you.
Yeah. it's great.
So we do have opportunities for those kids who cannot afford to participate,
Mhm.
where they can get.
I think the trick is
Yes.
that more often than not,
They
students.
won't.
They won't, or they're, I think the middle class of Whitefish is shrinking. And so it's just tricky to still feel included. Yep, so you maybe aren't low enough to think you qualify, or maybe you do qualify and don't realize it. But you're also not someone who would consider yourself, that would, so I
Like,
think
when I
it's,
know you need it.
until you add up this sport and this and this and this, and it adds up. To be a lot of money as someone who just had a high school graduate, like it's expensive to be an active, engaged student. And that's not just Whitefish, I mean, that's it's not unique to us. I think it's just something to talk about. I acknowledge that as much as we want to include everyone and we celebrate it, it comes at a financial cost to parents.
We're just letting people know how to get help, which I think
Yes.
that the students are often told, but maybe they don't tell their parents.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, like for example, AP test fees, I've heard from students, oh, they told us if we can't afford it, we can, but I've heard from parents, oh, why is this costing so much? So there's a disconnect, you know, in the student to parent pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
and then parents don't read their emails, I mean, you know.
Yes, there's no perfect I was just,
Yeah.
the multimedia approach is probably
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah.
Or that's why I'm talking about it here.
Like that.
Yes, yes, it's in the hands, so if you have a student, Anyways,
Any other? Okay, moving back to superintendent needs.
Okay, so, the calendar events is changing.
Invite yourself with time.
And Jake is here to, to go over it.
Oh,
But
man.
really, what's coming is students Thursday, staff, finishing the year, so it's exciting. Some of the events that's been talked about already, the graduation was just a wonderful event. It was really neat to see those students walk across that stage as it always is, and it was done so well, I think, facilitated by administration of the high school and everybody who's been involved in that, staff who were involved, and all of your participation in that event was great to see as well. But I think Mr. Drown summarized that well in saying what a group of leaders those students were. So I think that would be a really way to capture it. So really need to see that happen and need to see a new stage. So exciting. You know, every time I go, it's just, it reminds you what this is. Graduation is like really special. And I love seeing kids come across and getting an opportunity to shake their hands. It's just really special too. And to see their, you know, they're nervous, but excited. What a special time, really. And those kids have come through our school. We've seen them, we know them, right? And we've all been here a long time. It's just, yeah, I love it. And great job to everybody who was involved in that too. So, and then we have lots of other things happening in our schools as well. And, you know, I think we've got summer school coming up soon, right? Our summer jumpstart program. And then, you know, as we think activities are starting to slow down, really they're starting to pick up. Kids are going to start participating in lots of different things throughout the summer, getting ready for the school year next year. So, and as an administrative staff, this is an extremely busy time. The next few weeks after this week, finishing up the school year, getting prepared for next year, doing things like you just talked about, getting prepared for getting information out to parents about costs, things like that, and preparing our communications, and things like that. So really busy time, but an exciting time. And then there are very few professions that do that, close the year, start the year, and things like that. But we do in public education. So we have been through that before, but it's an exciting time to close that year and then to see those graduates, but then begin immediately preparing for the next year. We have enrollment to go over. I want to make sure I touch on that. We do have a lot of out-of-district enrollment that we just approved, and really it makes sense because we've seen some declines in our enrollment during the school year, a little bit more than we would typically see. So, but we are seeing some people enrolling out of the district. So it's kind of interesting. We'll have to watch this really closely as we begin the next school year. Were there some of the movements within the school year? Is that just going to be an up and down movement? You know, that we see within the school year and it comes back to what we had at the beginning of the last school year? Was that due to economic reasons or people coming back to fill those places, those homes that people left? It's really hard to say. So we'll keep watching that really closely. But what we do know is our middle school and our high school are still continuing to get really high numbers. Our high school will be at significant high numbers next year. So our work towards expansion is very well thought out in terms of supporting that growth in those buildings, in the high school building. But you can see in the details there that most of that movement, let's see, this time is Western US changes here, right? For newly enrolled and withdrawn. And then some who This is something that happens sometimes. People leave early. So they're unenrolling, so they're gonna come back.
Dave, what's the HL set?
Oh, I said.
I said,
So
so
that's
that's,
high.
Yeah.
It's-
so it's a type of graduation.
Oh.
Students graduated to high set, so we sometimes see that as well. So they graduate early.
That's like, oh, it's like a G, December,
So GD.
January, graduate. Okay. So. That isn't. I see.
They just missed the last month of school, like second and third grade.
If they unenroll and then they enroll in homeschool, they can do that.
Interesting continuation.
We didn't know there were all these things. When we were little, I didn't learn these things. We didn't know it gets so clever.
It's an unusual, step of course, but we're seeing some of that, and I think it relates to the conversations we've had related to attendance.
Yeah, like for continuity reasons, if you just missed the last month of second grade and then you come back, but all your classmates had it.
But that's why, someone says, we'd just like to take this month off. We said, well, we can't do that, but you can enroll. You can enroll in a homeschool or enroll in another school, but not, we.
Okay.
There might be problem.
Some people, yeah, I don't know what that.
What that
situation
entails.
is, in this situation at all. Could be
Yeah.
Someone enrolling in a different school.
Yeah.
It could be someone enrolling in a homeschool.
And it's not very common, it's only 2 people did it, but
Yeah.
they're probably related.
Yeah.
Second grade, right?
Yeah, right, but yeah, it's probably one family, it's just unusual.
Yeah, and you feel bad because a huge part of the school year is all those memories in May. And so just for the class experience. Yeah, but
That's a good question.
It's a decision.
yeah, to teach their own.
Can I ask an enrollment question, because you hinted at it a little bit with the conversation about kindergarten? For next year, because obviously we don't have next year numbers yet. But how did Roundup look compared to, or kindergarten Roundup compared to years past,
I
or?
was looking for Johnny's not here, it's slightly lower than previous years, but we've averaged close to 120 every year.
Okay.
I think we're a little bit below that right now in terms of where we were in the past at this point.
Yeah.
So that's a hard thing to predict.
Right, absolutely. I was just curious if we were like a lot lower or just a
I
little.
don't think
okay.
it's whether or not that we didn't fill enough, we removed one of those teachers. Actually.
That's what I was wondering. And they moved to a new spot. right?
Moved in to another, to first grade. At this time, now we have an increase in enrollment.
Right.
Have the ability to address that. Let's see. And then you have your list of resignations here.
Can I ask a question about that?
Uh-huh.
Just because I actually had the same question you just asked about the unenrollment. Is it common for like the crossing guards, like that they resign at the end of the year and then get rehired at the start of the year, or is that atypical? Usually you just stay on through what's happening? It's just like.
Josh does such a great job out there that.
I mean, I don't know, or like playground supervisors, I'm like, what's going on? Or all the paras are leaving, like, what is that?
Yeah, it's quite a few parent educators and things like that. I think that was a little surprising to us at the end of the year. But, these positions, those positions that are hard to fill right now.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
hard to fill everywhere throughout the country, throughout our state, throughout our valley. And so we have been seeing more turnover, especially in those positions. Those classified positions.
If I recall, like Rachel leaving, but we also lost Tia from the middle school special ed, right? Okay. So you're down a couple. That's the last special ed hit in the school.
Yeah, we have interviews this week.
Yay. It is so sad. Thanks for clarifying. Just like, whoa, seems like what?
Any other questions?
Lucy? Yeah, thank you. Greetings from the business department. And so the financial report that's presented as part of the agenda was posted before the county treasurer received all the real estate tax revenues. So most of these numbers are really not final numbers as of the last day of May. Both the cash balances and corresponding revenues in the general fund and all the other tax levy fund are actually approximately $4 million more.
That's nice.
Always.
Yes. Better than the other way.
Yes, so, so as you can see, the report was uploaded on June 5th, and I only received those numbers this morning, so I was unable to update it. Other than that, everything is going well. There's nothing unusual that I am aware of at this time of the year, and as you can imagine, the last month of the fiscal year is just crazy busy. The payroll person especially is super busy. So, but everything's going well. Great. Any questions for me?
Assuming that the double attachment, there's no difference.
What's that?
We have a financial report twice on that. It looks like it's the same size.
Yeah, I have no
Sorry.
idea why I did that.
If it was good once, it was better twice.
It's the same.
That's,
Yeah.
just the thing, yeah. It was just that I can test and see if you called that.
Good job, David.
Yes, you
No, what happened, with, I really don't.
Just go with what's attached.
Okay.
Anything else? Moving to the consent agenda. Is there any public comments on the consent agenda? Is there any board or a motion on the consent agenda?
Move we approve. I second.
Moved by Katie, seconded by Quincy. One last motion, and we adjourn.
Second.
Who was that, Rainey?
Rainy.
Okay. Motion by Darcy, seconded by Rainey. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice hour. 7:50.
We're gonna-
Yeah. Happy summer, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy summer.